Hi guys and girls and those wonderful people who are investigating the possibilities of communication from a world we call unseen. I wanted to come on here, and there's going to be a couple of these videos quite quickly after each other, explaining some different areas of subject, mainly revolving around physical mediumship, because over the past few months where I've been around from America to Switzerland to Holland and over the United Kingdom, people have been asking me about seances and what items should be brought in, what's their function, why do the spirit world use such things. So I thought it would be handy for me just to come on here and just explain the purpose of a couple of these items. I will be doing a brief talk on Leslie Flint, as well as the hand molds which were gathered through Colin Fry's mediumship, which we have in our possession. So I just wanted to first of all start the talk by introducing you to some objects which have been with myself as well as Colin Fry and along with John Austin. Now, for those who don't know, for 24 years this year, and I have been sitting in a darkened room, not all the time, but for a massive period of my life, to investigate the communication between our world and the spirit world through physical mediumship. Physical mediumship is what it is on the tin. It's how a mind can move to such a way to the spirit world, and through the senses of the medium, they're able to produce an energy. And as this energy builds and starts to blossom, when the spirit influence draws close, it causes a chain reaction within the body that releases a gas known as ectoplasm. This gas becomes solid once it hits, obviously, air, and as it moves along the floor, it looks like cheesecloth or a kind of a white cloth. And as that moves away from the medium, through directive thought, the spirit world are able to temporarily cloak themselves in it and become as solid as you and I. When I first started to understand what actually takes place in the seance, I couldn't necessarily understand or get my head around the processes. And over the time that I've sat and studied and experienced this wonderful form of phenomena, I've started to realize how sacred it is. Don't get me wrong, any form of communication is a miracle. When a mental medium stands upon platform or sits in front of you during a private sit-in, they sit there and they move their mind, and through their senses relay the information from your loved one and build up a picture of who that person is, tell you the story that you already know, that gives you the evidence of survival after physical death. With physical mediumship, everyone in the room, no matter if you're mediumistic or not, will hear and experience the voices. So part of the development is trumpet phenomena, and trumpet phenomena is simply a cone like this. This is over 40 years old now. It's made of a card which has been painted red and painted black inside. It has a luminosity at the fattest end of the trumpet. It used to have a luminosity at the thinnest end, but then the spirit world instructed us to remove this. Now, the purpose of a trumpet is to amplify the voice. Hello, can you hear me? But also during the phenomena to actually start to lift and start to move around the room. They introduced the trumpet due to the voices being very, very weak or very muffled, and the purpose was to either put the trumpet near the ear of the person that's receiving communication, or the spirit world will temporarily form a voice box inside and then take that very close to the individual, and then they can whisper their thoughts to the person that needs to listen. The reason why we started to introduce the luminosity is to basically understand what is taking place during this moment of levitation. Now, people who are using trumpet at the moment may find that as the power is building with the luminosity, the energy will move in front of it, and it will give the illusion that the trumpet is starting to rock or starting to move. And that may not be the case. If your circle is starting to experience this form of illusion with the power, I would strongly recommend that you get black card, place the A4 black card on the floor, put the trumpet in the middle and draw around it with black pen. And so that if the trumpet does start to lift and slowly move very, very gently, then people are saying it is, when the light comes on, you should see it outside that little drawn circle, so that you know that it's actual form of phenomena, not an illusion, as the power is moving through it. Some of you have witnessed power by seeing like blobs. When you turn out the light, there's this kind of misty fog, which is sometimes normally a whitey, bluey, yellow colour, and that will undulate, and I call them like jellyfish, that it undulates in the dark. And this is just energy, and especially in the physical circle, that you will see this energy much more intense, because it's the energy that we are providing for the spirit world. And as it moves across the luminosity, it gives this illusion that it's starting to move. So you place the card on underneath it, so that if for any chance it does look like it's moving, then when the light comes on, you would see it has moved either a small distance, or if you're lucky enough to have it then go up into the air. Many years ago, when I was about 15, 16 years old, and I saw the trumpet move for the first time, it terrified me. And then after I started to realise the function of the trumpet and realise that no harm will come to me, and I'm only scared of my own shadow, not the thoughts of the spirit world, when it started to move, I was trying to excite it by saying, "Well done, trumpet, wow, woo," and excite the atmosphere and kind of gear up everyone else to say, "Look, this is a miracle, this is moving." And the trumpet came in front of me, and then it stopped, and a voice came out and said, "Does this impress you?" And I said, "Yes," and it drops. And the voice came out and said, "It proves nothing." And the voice that said that moved back into the cabinet, and then out came a loved one. And for a period of time, this loved one was able to hug his wife, kiss his wife, and give his wife proof of survival. Then the loved one went back into the cabinet. The old voice then came back and said, "Would you like us to prove life after life? If you want us to perform like circus animals, go to the circus." But it's important that we realise that the trumpet phenomena is only a small part of what takes place within the seance room. I believe it's more important to try and get a voice that you recognise from a loved one, or a communicator that can give us wonderful philosophy of life and build us up friendship without insulting our intelligence. To have the trumpet move is a miracle, but to have the hand and the voice of someone who you know coming out and holding you in the dark, talking to you, is truly the greatest gift that can be offered by the spirit world, and the greatest service that we as sitters, as mediums, can offer humanity. So with the trumpet, as I said, will start to lift, and if it starts to lift, it will excite you because you're seeing some form of phenomena, you're taking this moment in, and therefore your energy will become heightened. And as your energy becomes heightened, the spirit world are quite sneaky. They psychically pull it from you to maintain the energy within the room, to maintain the link between the two worlds, keeping the medium's mind suppressed, so that they are able to become the channel of these thoughts that are passing through them. Even though that the trumpet will be separate from the medium can still influence by directive thought. This came apparent with myself when I woke up during one of my seances and had two trumpets in the air. So we had a trumpet very similar to this and a trumpet very similar to this one, and they started to lift and then move away from me, to a point I was able to see the trumpets and also speak at the same time. So being restrained to a chair and the trumpets up in the air, I have two controls that work with me, and I asked them if one person was controlling it, and they kind of moved to say no. And I said, is one got one trumpet and one's got the other? And they both went like this in acknowledgement. So I said, which one's which? I said, Daniel. And this one went like this, and I said to the little girl called Sarah, and this one did this, and I said, "Oh, Daniel, she's taller than you. She's got her trumpet higher," and his trumpet went and knocked into it, and then she came back and knocked back into him, and vice versa. And I said, "Behave." And as I said that, both trumpets then turned to face me, and I heard in my head, internally, "Get him." And as I thought and heard that, I felt the trumpet hit me on the head. And I noticed that if I think real loud of go away, push away, I found that the trumpets moved away from me, and then they moved back towards me when it was under the influence. So I noticed that myself started to be able to control the trumpet by directive thought. Now, there are two forms of phenomena. If the phenomena has no intelligence to it, then indeed it's known as psychic phenomena. If the phenomena has intelligence, i.e. that you start to recognize either the voice that's talking back to you, or if you're asking the trumpet as it moves around the room, asking it questions, is my father here? And it says yes. And I say, right, can you give me the first letter of his name? And then we'll go A, B, C, D, E, F, and it will do this. So it showed that there was intelligence there, and we were able to get communication. But if you find that any form of phenomena may lie to you, it's not a mischievous spirit. It's known as psychic phenomena, which has no way of evidentialness to it, because there is no malevolent spirit or dangerous spirit, only for people like you and I who are living. But in the spirit world, that they've already had their transition, they've already gone into that realm, and therefore no harm is actually coming to them or us from their side of life. So with the trumpets can be made out of metal, but please be mindful that the energy known as ectoplasm, the rods which are connected to the medium to connect to the trumpet. So for instance, for me, I have a rod, what feels like it comes from my stomach, and that goes and grips on the end of the trumpet, and the trumpet will start to move. I don't feel the trumpet moving until it hits something. If it hits something, it sends a vibrational shock back to me, and it's very much like trying to hold a very long pole and then tapping it. The vibration of the long pole, even though it's a gentle tap, it vibrates very, very aggressively. I have likened it to two thoughts. When you've done so many sit-ups and your muscles are naturally contracting, or if you're lazy like me, and you know those shock pads which send electric shocks into your muscles to make you have those lovely defining body, like as you can see I have. These shock pads were the same feeling when the trumpet kind of hits. So it's a kind of form of contraction here. So as I sat and I started to wake up and the trumpet started to move and I was able to talk at the same time, hello baby, that I noticed that the spirit world were distracting people as the trumpet was moving, and the voice box was then starting to form behind. And as this trumpet moved, then the energy got stronger, so the voice became clearer. So I noticed that when the spirit world do the trumpet phenomena, they do it quite close to bringing through a loved one, so because that's when the power is at its height. Now with Colin, the trumpet moved very, very quickly from the moment that the lights went out. Within about 2-3 minutes the trumpet went up in the air, especially when we started singing Drunken Sailor, Hooray Up She Rose, and you saw the trumpet started to lift in the air. So the trumpet, or the cone as it's known, I know I'm trying to talk and I've got a baby's bum that keeps flipping around here. The cone of the trumpet is solely there as a tool. As I said, it is there to amplify the voice. It is there to either go close to you and whisper secrets, or it has been used as a point of focus for the spirit world to apport items in. So for instance, the trumpet may come over to you and it may ask you to place your hand out, and then out the trumpet will come either roses or jewelry or an object that has great significance. I have not had a apport through the trumpet through my own mediumship, but I have had it through others, where 40 plus coins literally fell from the trumpet out of the air, and you could hear the medium talking at a certain distance away. So that it was shown that it was absolutely separate from what was taking place. So the trumpet does play a part. If you were doing the form of table tilting, you can always put the trumpet in the center of the table and place your hands around it. And you may find that the trumpet will either start to move by itself, or the table will start to move and the trumpet will remain on top of the table until it becomes too aggressive, and then the trumpet will fall. Now, I always used a metal trumpet, but with metal, obviously the pseudopods or the ectoplasmic rods is a form of electricity, it's a form of power, and obviously metal can conduct energy. So I always used to put a little bit of tape around the end of the trumpet so that the spirit world has something to grip, and therefore if the trumpet did touch someone, then in my mind it will be safer. In the good old days they used to have just solely metal trumpets, as you've seen in previous talks when I've showed you one of Leslie Flint's original trumpets, which he didn't like using at all. I have also seen one of Helen Duncan's trumpets, which were only about this big, who Eric Hatton possessed. I don't know where it is now. But these wonderful objects are just as simple there as to part of aiding the seance. Everything that happens in a seance, be it whatever phenomena, is a stepping stone for greater things to come. Now, if you have a metal trumpet, it's advisable that before use you run water through it. Water is a natural power, and therefore if you run water through it, it naturally charges the seance trumpet. This is what used to occur literally from 1848 up into the present day with people who've had that knowledge to run water through the seance trumpet. Now these ones here are wax, so I can saturate them in water, but over time they'll soften. So I don't do them with the wax ones or with the old card, but with the metal ones I would used to always run water through it. It charges the trumpet. It's like having a bath before a sit-in. It makes your body feel better, and I always run water through it. Now, on this note, with the seance trumpet having the luminous bands at the bottom, sometimes the luminous band can be too bright for the sit-in. So I believe it's important to charge the trumpet up in the light about 2 hours before the sit-in, and then wrap it in a bag, and so that your circle, are not sitting thinking that the trumpet could move. You forget about it, so that if it does start to move, then the focus moves to that instead of focusing on something else. Because a lot of times when people sit in circle, we say to you that don't have any expectation, and to have a trumpet which is beaming full of light, people are going to be focusing on the trumpet instead of creating the power that our friends need at this moment in time. So what we try and do as much as possible is to have the luminous band on the bottom, but then have it covered in a bag. I've just had a question come from Little Copper. It is quite heavy and would be used as a trumpet made of copper to understand and conduct the energy. Yeah, anything, Tim, that can be used as a cone, by all means. The weight does play a part in that. Now, those who have attended my sit-ins will know that I have a trumpet which is only about this big. Then as that started to move, they put the extender on there, and they put another extender on there. So the trumpet will be about 60 to 70 centimetres long. They range in different weights. They range between as light as paper to about the weight of a bag of sugar. I think once the ectoplasmic rod has strengthened itself sufficiently, then they can lift any kind of object. You may find that as the trumpet starts to lift and they want to exercise the ectoplasmic rod, that you may find that the people closest to you, your sitters, will have their chair starting to lift up and down as they create a rod underneath the chair, and then they use the lever system to then lift your sitters up in the air. So it's important as you go along is to allow the spirit world to lead you in the demonstration instead of we lead them, and listen to, wherever possible, their advice on the way forward. As I said to you, the trumpet is something that I've used now for 24 years. It's only started to move in the last 20 years, and it just very gently starts to move in the air, and it is a form of distraction. It also can be used if someone is terrified. that the spirit world may allow a bit of light at the bottom. They get it out the bag and place it in front of the person who's a little bit nervous, and then as the seance unfolds, the person's nerves fade away, and then the trumpet could either be moved or then lifted to where it needs to be. So these are just some thoughts on the trumpet. I'm going to, in a minute, stop this video, and then I'm going to do another one which will then show you the hand molds that were achieved through Colin Fry's mediumship and how they were attained, and how you yourself, if you're sitting in physical circle, can get paraffin wax and use it in that way. But I hope you found this interesting. If you are interested in seance trumpets, you can make them yourself by using card. If not, go on to Banyan Retreat or the Austin Wish Circle shop, which you can find on the scottmilligan.net, and you will see a number of different trumpets. I had noticed when sitting for the spirit world, it's the children who actually do the phenomena. And when I came back from working away, my nephew was only about 2 to 2.5 years old, and I was opening up my suitcase to unpack my clothes, and in there was my seance toys, and I had a number of my metal trumpets. And my nephew didn't go to the metal trumpets, he went to the colourful trumpets that we had, which were decorated in different ways. And we noticed that if the child in the spirit world is doing the trumpet phenomena, we made the trumpets as child friendly as possible, bright colours, still having the ritual of the reasons of the trumpet, the sacredness of the trumpet, but having them in bright colours, and seeing that the spirit children used to grab them and play with them, and they used to go around the seance room and go, "Ah!" And I found that was quite awesome. So the colour depends on, you know, how your preferences are. I make them more child-proof, so more child-friendly, more child-appealing, so that the spirit children can go and play with this. And they can play by tapping your hand, or moving it around, tapping your head, or rubbing your belly, or going to your ear and whispering something. I had one cheeky little fellow from the spirit world lifted it up and put it directly next to my ear and went, "Boo." And I thought that was absolutely funny, because I've been so used to having the many intelligent voices coming from the spirit world, but to have a child come up to my ear and just scream "boo," I thought that was hysterical. So I hope you found it interesting, and I hope you can join me in a minute when I start to show you the other part of my talk, which are the hand molds from Colin Fry. Okay, take care guys, lots of love, bye bye.